Hey, what's up everybody? Well, I had no idea how this is going to go down, but I have a brief moment to make a video, which I better take before I lose it. Okay, so what I want to talk about in this video is a very quick unboxing. Could be the only one in October for all I know, because I cannot even believe we got about 2 weeks left until Halloween. Just always seems to come too fast, you know. October is the first month that I feel goes by too fast. And, you know, you get to Halloween and then it's bam, 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 Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's before you're ready. So, I got another package from TEMU, which I will not be showing my address, but I've already cut into it. And, let's see, what all do I have? Basically, the reason I ordered from TEMU, I'm not going to be showing on here the main thing I really wanted to get, because I had not bought from them in a while. I really don't like buying from them. Not my favorite thing to do. Sometimes you just got to have something that you can't get anywhere else. When you want something cheap, you know, and you want something, you know, that comes from a wide selection. I mean, Walmart is getting to the point where it may as well be an online store half the time. I mean, let's face it, you know, you're buying a lot of this stuff in the same way, only it's got the Walmart stamp on the box. Okay, so let's get to it. Main thing I wanted was this set of pot handles, which I had to cut my fingernails down really short. I was worried it wouldn't come in long before Halloween, but I wanted to replace these handles on an old pot that was my grandma's. And the only reason I cared so much about the pot and could not part with it is because it had this crown symbol. They were kitchen queens on the knob. And that, believe it or not, that used to be my logo. I would post as little master points with the blue version of that and little miss points interchangeably with the hot pink version. You know, kind of like this, pink and blue. Then occasionally I'd throw in another account, maybe if I got banned as both of those people. And I'd have a green version and be somebody, some variation on it. But I just always have loved that crown. I just love crowns because this whole prince and princess thing has always appealed to me. This royal title. And so kitchen queens had these handles on either side of the pot. What happened was somehow or another they broke off or melted off. And my grandma and my father, and unfortunately my little sister, one thing they all inherited was this tendency to want to drive it until the wheels fall off. This mentality of just drive it till the wheels fall off. And in this case, the handles. And what I mean by that is you just use it, abuse it, with the philosophy that, well, there's more at the store. And I hate hearing that. Ooh, it makes me cringe to hear my dad say that. Well, there's more at the store. You know, my mom was always obsessed with saving things, you know, preserving things and keeping them in pristine condition to whatever extent possible for the rest of your life, for sure. And I inherited more of that. You know, this I want to save it forever. I want it to outlive me type of mentality. Nothing is ever expendable. Nothing is ever disposable. And so I'm more like that. Oh, and one thing I did find, you know, this October thing that I cut, you see, even something, you know, as trivial as this, that most people would have thrown in the garbage years ago. This came from a Little Debbie box. I want to say 5 years ago, because I haven't bought them that long. But I saved it because I thought the kids were cute. You know, you had your blonde, brunette, and redhead. And so they remind me of my kid core dolls. And so, you know, I've just always had this mentality of, you know, wanting to preserve things with every fiber of my being. And my paternal grandmother, father, and little sister are of the opposite mindset. You know, just use it, abuse it. When it breaks, just go out and get another one. You know, that's why she went to work and left him with a nanny, which my mom, you know, loves to talk about how bad of a mom she was for doing that. You know, just go to work so that you can always afford to replace things. And don't ever try to repair them if you don't have to. And I hate that mentality because it would be so nice, you know, to have more of her stuff and be able to use a lot more of the stuff that she had, you know, as heirlooms. Even if I don't like, you know, the thing about the handles on that pot is they're kind of loose. You know, there's no way to make them tight. It's a long story, but I don't want to get it out. But it was very difficult, rough on my hands to restore that pot, and they're still loose. I wouldn't trust it with hot food in it. But more than anything, I just wanted to have a pot with that crown on it, you know, just as an heirloom, you know, just to say this was Grandma's pot, you know, and even if I use, you know, the more modern ones to actually cook with, I still like the thought of restoring things and preserving things and making them as nice as they can be for the age that they are. You know, that's always been my motto. And, you know, not this idea that you should just go to work your whole life and never have anything to show for it because you had the mentality of use it, abuse it, drive it till the wheels fall off, you know, leave stuff out that you could preserve by putting away, wash everything together, don't sort by color in my sister's case. I just do not understand people like that at all. You know, the lack of pride in thinking that you deserve to have stuff that looks nicer than what you're allowing it to become. I will never understand that. We'll never understand it. You know, just the same mentality of not writing neater. You know, some people just having chicken scratch handwritings. I don't understand that. Why would you not just take a tad bit longer to write things neatly? You know what I'm saying? Why wouldn't you want to have things the best that you could possibly have them for as long as you could possibly have them? So anyway, enough of the rant about that. So I restored the pot. And I'm not showing that because, you know, I've already dealt with it. Well, the other item that I wanted that came in the package was this beautiful little kitty. They had Lively Kitty was the yellow one, Sweet Kitty was the silly pink one, and Cool Kitty was the gray and white one. So I preferred that one. And it's kind of a jelly cat. And what it does, you know, if I could ever take him out of the bag, he's flocked. So he'll probably put cut hair everywhere. But it's a cat. It's a toy cat. And I told my dad, I said, since she won't let me have the real deal, you know, but my sister can have as many as she wants, real cats, I'll have this cat, which, you know, like I said, he sheds all over the place. So the other thing, actually it was 3 things. And I'm going to do something with these dresses. One of them is a mermaid's tail, glittery mermaid's tail. And the other 2 were some cheap dresses, a blue one and a pink one. And I already have an idea of what I want to do with the blue one. Well, this one was kind of a disappointment. And this was a Disney Pinocchio doll. You know, they're not very specific on the size that things are. And so there I was thinking he'd be more of a 1/6 scale doll. But unfortunately, you know, they seem to have something against that scale. I don't know what it is. But they can't stand to make, you know, any young male doll on the 1/6 scale. And so he's actually more of like a 1/5 head and a very small body. So he's more like a toddler. But the biggest disappointment was not his size. But when I first opened, he was in a separate, like, bubble wrap box in the package. And when I opened him, his left arm fell off completely. So I got a refund because he was literally broken like so many other things I've ordered. You know, they try to package them carefully, but they just can't. You know, you can't pack that many things together and expect nothing to break in a weak spot. So I got out the glue and I glued his left hand. But here's the catch. You can only spend the refund on TEMU. And so I'm not exactly sure I want to spend more money on TEMU and have to wait that long. So there's my Pinocchio doll. And I think I'll end with some pictures of another version of Pinocchio that was Jonathan Taylor Thomas. And with AI, I'm able to change his clothes. And the thing about him is he truly was only 1/6 scale. And I've already, talked about him in another video, why he was special. In that being the last movie made during the last year or so before his voice changed. And so that movie was kind of the end of JTT's prepubescent, child actor phase. And a lot of times, I don't know what it is, but looks like the majority, it's more the rule than the exception, that you'll have like male child celebrities, whether it's a kid vocalist, whether it's, like Billy Gilman and the boys that sing and all that, or whether it's a child actor, he could be a movie actor and or a sitcom actor, on a series like Home Improvement, or he could just be a voice actor on a cartoon or several cartoons. But I don't know what it is, but there's just something about boys who start their career young like that. Okay, first of all, they rarely start when they're really, really young. They just start when they're like on the cusp of puberty, like 10 to 15-ish, a few years before the voice change. And so they'll start when they're, kind of like 5th grade or middle school age, roughly. And they'll start their career like that. When they're old enough to read and speak clearly, but they haven't quite, gotten far enough into puberty to sound like men. Okay, and so they'll produce a lot. In Billy Gilman's case, I think he had like 3 CDs, the year when he was 12 that were all released. I want to say that was my junior year of high school. And it would have been like his 7th grade year had he gone to a regular school. And so they'll produce a lot of content. Bam, bam, bam. They're on everything that has a little boy in it that year. They're like the little boy of the day. And so their career is like skyrocketing to a ridiculous level. But then they go through puberty, and although they may release like one, like in Billy Gilman's case, he released Music Through Heart Songs. And, I want to say it was Haley Joel Osment, that I think it was a movie called Secondhand Lions. So they'll like do one last whatever as a young adolescent, whether it's a movie or a CD or, they'll do maybe one or a few to tell you this is who they became as the voice changed. And so you'll know, about how old they were and what they started to sound like.
Oh, I want to release some new music in 2012. Okay. That's my new resolution.
Have you been writing at all or working on stuff?
I'm always writing, and I've been in the studio a lot in LA's, and I have some new stuff which I'm very excited about.
I kind of went into hiding this year because I was writing my new record, which is coming out in January of 2013. So I kind of find myself creatively, again, and I wrote all the songs on this record, so that was a big step for me. So I kind of had to find the new Greyson and kind of channel him into this new record, and so finally I did it, and now I'm promoting it, and on December 31st I'm going to be singing Sunshine City Lights, which is my new single.
As they went through puberty. But here's the thing, very soon after, their career will either slow down drastically compared to what it used to be, or they will completely go on hiatus. Like in the case of Macaulay Culkin, completely just drop out of the acting world, drop out of the music industry. And a few years later, they might make a comeback. You might hear from them again when they're about 18. They might try to make a comeback, but it's never, like what their career used to be as a young child actor or musician on the cusp of puberty at 12 or 13. And I think Justin Bieber is kind of an exception to that. You know, he's still remembered for, you know, like the way he was at 15 and 16, but, you know, he's never completely gone away. But I've never fully understood that, you know, why it's like, you know, you're either like a young adolescent actor or musician or whatnot, or you start your career well into adulthood and get to be an adult one, like most people. I've never fully understood that, why they rarely have a smooth transition, you know, from being the young boy, you know, like in the original Disney Pinocchio, I think Dickie Jones or something like that. He's dead now. But it's like they're rarely known for much else other than, you know, when they were young. You know what I'm saying? If they start young, that's how they're remembered. And that's pretty much all they will ever do in the industry for the most part. Their roles, you know, as an adult will be much lesser if they start young. And the more drastic the change, you know, the truer that is. So, never fully understood that. You know, and I was talking about, like, oh yeah, about this, how there's a JTT Pinocchio. And, you know, it's just, you know, to me that doll was very special because it's like it captured JTT, or Jonathan Taylor Thomas, you know, right before his voice changed and he kind of got out of acting altogether. Just don't know what it is. I mean, because in my mind, you know, I never fully understood that, you know, why they wouldn't just be excited. You know, like, yay, I'm finally, you know, coming of age. Yay, hallelujah, Jesus, I'm finally becoming a man now. You know, now I want to be in everything. But it just doesn't usually work that way. You know, they usually want to kind of disappear somewhat. And so I'll be showing, you know, that JTT doll, and he's about 8 inches, which makes him very special, and how, you know, with AI, I'm able to change his clothes. But yeah, never understood why from roughly about the time his voice changed, maybe a few years after that, he kind of wanted to disappear from acting altogether, you know, and wanted to just kind of become unknown, so to speak. Never understood that. You know, why don't they want to get more into what made them famous, you know, as they start coming of age and looking more like an adult? You know, why do they want to just leave it behind altogether? So, the other thing I want to end with is the blue dress. So yeah, the blue dress is the main one that I wanted. And I wanted the pink one, but this one I especially wanted. And I wanted to put this version of Wendy in it. You see, she's got panties. So, it's probably cheaper made than these clothes. But yeah. Here's her dress. And I wanted her, you know, it's okay if it's not exactly like movie accurate, you know? But I still want it to be somewhat of a blue Wendy dress. And so, there you go. Her beautiful blue dress. Beautiful blue dress, and it's okay, you know, that it has flowers instead of being a solid blue dress. Like I was thinking of getting, I think that looks sweet. I think it looks darling. Looks like Wendy in her day clothes. And so there's the Wendy doll. And there is my fixed Disney Pinocchio. You know, the JTT Pinocchio is awesome, but I like that one too. And so there you go. Is a beautiful Wendy doll, Wendy darling. And she is a darling, and she's wearing a blue dress. And I have to figure out something to do with the pink dress. Because, you know, I bought that one too because I didn't want to just buy one. Then I have the mermaid tail for somebody. But yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and post this video. It's already 20 minutes long, you know, along with, you know, the JTT doll pictures, you know, of him wearing different clothes. And I'm very happy with everything I ordered from TEMU this time. Oh, one thing I forgot it. I have a bonus gift. It says thank you. Every now and then I get a bonus gift. And I found this bonus gift. And so here it is. It's like a little Jingle Bell keychain. Not sure I would use that, but it's awesome. And I'll go ahead and post this video.